What's up, everybody? It's Stocks for Real. Have we heard everything we need to know about SoFi? Probably, but you know what time it is. It's earnings season, and you know what we do. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500% gains. We've seen it consistently with me. If you're in the Discord, you know. If you're on the IG, you know. But with that being said, it's time for some plays for the minnows, the dolphins, and the orcas. I got something for all three of you with SoFi exclusively. Let's get into it. What's up, everybody? It's Stocks for Real. So, hey, I have to say this. This video, I thought about making it a deep dive, but then I looked and I have 36 SoFi videos on the playlist on my page. So if you want to know more information as far as analysts, the short interest, my expectations of the company and what's going to happen with this earnings and going forward, then go check out the playlist because it gives you all the information there. I want to keep this video as short as possible just so I can give you the plays so y'all can move on with your day. All right. So before I get into the plays, a couple things I want to call out. One, last night I noticed that on Robinhood, they have now allowed overnight trading for SoFi. Why is that important? Because SoFi is already 18+% shorted. So manipulation, they just have more hours in the day to do whatever they want to do with the stock. Okay. So I say that because I want everybody to be very cautious. Before I get into anything, I want to say this is not financial advice. This is not a suggestion for you to buy, hold, or sell. Anything that I say is my opinion and is based on my research and what I plan to do with the SoFi stock and SoFi options, in which I've traded consistently every earnings, never missed. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean I'm perfect. And that also doesn't mean that I can't miss this time. But I'm also aware of the risk. And I have proper risk management playing SoFi. And if you're playing the stock, I want you to think about this, okay? SoFi has had back-to-back profitable quarters, right? We're all tracking that, right? So I am expecting for them to report another profitable quarter. With that being said, I do suspect SoFi to pull back either before or during earnings. Tread carefully. What I like to do is give myself ample amount of time for the play to develop or to give the play some room to breathe, okay? Because with SoFi, because it's so manipulated, they'll pull the stock back, and try to trip everybody's stop loss, and then it'll go on a rocket. But keep in mind that when we're playing earnings doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to go green or the stock is going to go your way on that day. So SoFi historically has gone up, multiple percentages, right? But it also has come down before as well. I called the pullback for $6.94. We've seen that. We actually seen the pullback from $8.06 down to the $7 range, then down to $6.94. And I called all of those levels. Okay. So I think we had our healthy pullback, and now we're going to float between $7 and I want to say 10 cents and then where we are currently. Okay. So with that being said, I've dollar cost averaged into SoFi, and I plan to actually go in a little heavier by close of business tomorrow. And then we'll see what Monday brings. Okay. So, hey, and also just so everybody knows, I'm not an expert of SoFi. I've been rocking with SoFi since 2020. I don't even know, 2020, 2019, something like that. Before it went public, I've been rocking with SoFi. So I say that because I have a lot of knowledge and a good understanding of the company. Okay. But what I talk about in my videos is not too granular as far as like the details of how the makeup of the company and how things work within a fintech or neobank structure. Okay. So essentially, if you are looking for more information, we're all in this together, right? We all want to eat. So a couple notable mentions as far as people that I like and follow and get some information from would be the following. We got Tanner with Future Investment or Future Investing. You got Stock Goat. All right. You got Data Driven Investing. He actually writes articles, and I think if you follow him, you get emails of full articles on SoFi. Okay. You got Tevis, and then you got FinTech, 2 words. Okay. All of these guys are very, very analytical. Some of them are actual financial advisors. Some of them are actual publishers. And they have a good background and they have a very knowledgeable understanding of the company. So if SoFi is more than a trade for you and you're looking for an easy, comprehensive way of understanding the company, so you may become an investor, then look those guys up. Okay. That being said, let's get into the technicals and let's get into some plays. Let's go. All right, everybody, let's get right into the technicals. All right. So SoFi, a lot of us are zoomed in so close to it. I had identified the falling wedge, right? And I also told you when the breakout was going to happen in that pattern, and it did. My most recent video, I informed you guys of the pullback that was going to happen, and I called it to the penny. I said $6.94, and that's exactly where it fell down to today. All right. So that being said, when you look at that pattern at that level, SoFi essentially could also be seen as a descending channel, right? Which it could just live there. It doesn't necessarily mean that a breakout is happening. So let me show you that first. So this right here would be the breakout, right? And so that was our falling wedge. All right. So that is a bullish pattern and that I've traded multiple times. It looks like we have broken out and then we are down to retest. Now, that's what it looks like. SoFi is so strange and it's so manipulated that it could be something different. It literally could be a falling wedge. Or I'm sorry, a descending channel. With a pattern, you need 3 points of contact essentially for it to be considered a pattern or a trend. I'm sorry. And we could literally fall and play this range. So essentially what I'm saying is that I wouldn't be surprised if we seen another pullback happen because SoFi is so manipulated. Okay. So what I feel is we had our pullback to 694, like I stated, but we could probably see another pullback for the shorts to trip up a lot of people, to kick them out of their positions. Now, I operate in halves, and I'm zoomed in sooner than I wanted to, but I'm just going to do this while I'm here. Okay. So, middle mark of this, look at that, it's almost perfect. Essentially, if we're above this blue line, we're bullish, and if we're below, we're bearish. So we essentially need to find support above this line right here in order for us to be considered ready to break up and out of this descending channel. Okay. As you can see, we've tested that line, it got rejected, false breakout, rejected, another false breakout, false breakout, false breakout. So we have finally broken out. Oops. out above this level, and now we've come down to find support. So I like to look at it that way, because that kind of gives me more of a bullish or bearish stance when it comes to trends. Okay, so that being said, we're going to clear all this out. I'm going to zoom out so you can see what I see. So we're going to go all the way out to 3 months. Why am I doing 3 months? Because I feel like SoFi is so volatile that we're not looking at the overall picture. We're very close to the stock, for those who have been following it for as long as I have, right? So I want you to notice something here. Of course, you see SoFi in this downtrend, but do you guys understand supply and demand, right? So what we noticed here, down here, we had this big green candle, right? And then what you do is you go to the nearest red bar, and then that becomes your level of demand, okay? So I have these presets. This is, one second, my demand zone, right? This tells me that SoFi buyers like to buy SoFi around here. Once SoFi falls to this demand, you can already see these long bottom wicks, which is telling you that we have buyers down here. Okay, so the shorts have not been able to short below or even really into this buy zone. Okay, why am I telling you this? Because traditionally or typically, when you have a demand zone, right, you want to buy in that demand zone. So if you're trying to go long on a stock, for instance, and you know that this is buying area, you want to buy between here and here, okay? Between that halfway point and the bottom half of that demand zone, so you can get your maximum return, okay? But it also helps you with your risk management. The closer to the bottom you are entering the play, the less risk you're taking, because essentially if it broke underneath that, then you would be exiting the trade essentially, right? So for as long, just so you know, for as long as SoFi is above and does not break the demand zone, I'm remaining bullish on the stock. I am not selling the stock. The company fundamentals don't change. We're in a buy area right now. Now, if the fundamentals change and the shorts push this stock below this demand zone, then likely we're in a free fall. We have no idea where SoFi is going. So we just got to be cautious of that. I don't think it's going to get down there, but here we are. Okay, so what else do I have? So I wanted to introduce demand zone for those that didn't know. Also, I want to introduce the volume profile for this level, this area. So what I like to do is take the volume profile and have it read off of the start of the demand zone, okay? So I'm gonna do a couple things. Like I told you, I like to operate in halves, and then this is something I call the highway, right? Or crossroads. I'm trying to give it a name, but I've been doing it for a while, so you can help me out. But essentially, I take the highs, 3 points of contact, 1, 2, 3, and then the lows with 3 points of contact. It will be 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then you would split that in the middle, and then that tells you bottom half is bearish and top half is bullish. Okay, so as you can see, we are underneath the halfway point, right? We're at the crossroads, the intersection, right? But that also happens to be our point of control when it comes to the volume profile. essentially that is where the price, buyers and sellers are pretty much in agreement of the price. So you get a lot more buying and selling there. Anyway, so we're at this crossroads point. So I want you to look out for a couple of things. Okay, and then I'll go into the play that I'm looking at. So crossroads here. We also have a low volume node. Okay, and a low volume node, which I'm introducing that as well. If you don't know, this can act as support or resistance. Okay, we are, as you can see, above the low volume node, but so we're between the low volume node and the point of control. So if we break above the point of control or crossroad, then we have a small low volume node here, which I'm not really worried about. Okay, we'll likely break through that on bullish news. Okay, but we have this guy right here, which we're likely to see a rejection. And as you can see, right, you can see right here, it's kind of panning out. Oops. Right here is the tops of these wicks. Notice how it went into the low volume node and was rejected. Similar situation as the demand zone and what I was saying about buying into the demand zone. Similar situation when it comes to low volume nodes, because they act as support and resistance, or they can. You typically, if you're trying to short a stock, you typically want to enter puts around the top half of the low volume node, with your stop loss being just outside of it. Okay, if you did your charting correctly. So that's that. So notice we have two strong rejections here. So that's the big wall we need to get over. Now we do have another one. This guy right here. Not too big. And then we have this big guy right here, which is a low volume node right before we enter, or right before we hit our volume area high, that purple line. Okay, so this is a big level right here, because not only you have this huge low volume node which can act as a strong resistance, but once it breaks through it, if it does, you still have this volume area high here, which is also a level of resistance when you're looking at especially like a D-shaped profile. So this profile is neutral, essentially. Okay, let's see here. All right, so what else is it telling you? It's showing you that, I don't want to get into a whole class on volume and profiles, so read the book if you haven't. But essentially, once we break through here, I mean, we have a couple small nodes to break through. That's the next biggest. After that, we're kind of off to the races. Right? Small, not worried about that. These smaller ones is probably where you would see some retracement, just a little bit of pullback before you see a continuation. All right. So that's the upside, with that wall being at 10.14. After $10.14, I mean, you see this here, but so let's get into the downside. Okay, so essentially I've already gone over the bull and the bear case for SOFI, but now essentially what I'm doing is just showing you guys the technicals. and what to look out for. Okay, so on the downside, you see this purple line right here. Okay, that purple line is your volume area low. Okay, so that also can act as a support line. Now, you see it in dark blue and light blue. The light blue is where 68% of the trading activity is occurring, and then below and above the purple lines is where the difference is. Okay, so what that means is that traditionally SoFi doesn't like to live below 668. Okay, so anyway, going into this, you notice that there's a low volume node right below the the volume area low. So you could argue that SoFi could pull back and let's delete that. SoFi could pull back and retest that, which is like faking people out. So I can see them faking people out, saying, "Oh, we're breaking into the volume area low. We're headed towards the point of no return," right? Well, in reality, there's a low volume node here, so they could pull back and then find some support here and then go up, right? If it breaks through, remember this entire space right here is a demand zone. So this is where a lot of buying activity happens. Will we fall all the way back from 727 to 650s, 640s? I don't know, right? Nobody knows what's going to happen. The shorts are heavy. They're 18+%, and they are not showing their hand. Well, they're showing their hand, but their cards are on the table, and they're not budging. Essentially, they are banking on SoFi to fail in the near future or the near term. So this coming earnings. If SoFi blows it out of the water, then they are screwed and we are on a rocket. But anyway, that's the technicals. So, I mean, just to add a little to it, if we break below here, we're going into that demand zone. And we have this huge gap right here. Okay? Right? So, which extends to about $6 up to about 630. Okay? Actually, let's do this. Okay, so this is the volume area right here as well, as you can tell, which perfectly lines up with the large wicks. Anyway, those are the technicals. Now, how am I playing SoFi, right? I told everybody that we were going to fall to 694. If you weren't watching that video or weren't aware of it, then you probably missed out, because that's exactly when I started to dollar cost average in and buy more of my call option position. So did you miss the boat? No, you didn't. But I've ran up SoFi several times for 100% gains from since last week till this week. And then, of course, many times prior to that. The last earnings that I did, Q3 of 2023, no, Q4 of 2023, which happened in January. I put $5,000 on SoFi call options, and that was the first quarter of profitability that was announced, and we ran that up. I want to say it was it was definitely over 100%. So it was anywhere between 100 and 300%. I have the receipts. I posted it in the last video. I can't remember. I play SoFi all the time. Anyway, that's where we're at, man. So 694 was the level. Now, at this point, if you're looking to get into SoFi, I don't foresee it necessarily like running up before earnings. If anything, I see it pulling back prior to earnings. Now, I have a thought on what happens to stocks prior to earnings versus like what happens at earnings. So I'm under the impression, because I've seen it time and time again, where days before earnings, like if the stock is overall bullish, or there's like behind the scenes bullish like sentiment towards like the stock and the earnings that is going to present, typically you see a pullback. in the stock, right? I don't know if you guys notice the same trend or pattern, but it typically happens. And then if a stock is probably going to fail, then likely that stock had rallied prior to earnings, and then as soon as earnings dropped, it dropped like a rock, right? So if you notice that pattern, let me know, but it's definitely happened time and time again. What are we seeing right here, right? We see this long wick. So we had a sell-off from $8.06, right? I know it says 5, but it was 6. So $8.06. This is our sell-off point for SoFi, right? We sold off all the way to current level of $7.27. Now we could fall back down to $7.10. So I could definitely see us pulling back a little bit more, and I would be looking to grab call options personally. You do you, bet against it, bet forward, either which way. This is what I'm doing. So buying call options between $7.17 and $7. Okay. Now I did say $6.94. That is a level for SoFi, right? Because this is like pretty much where it would fall off a cliff. If it fell below $6.94 and show confirmation below $6.94, then you're likely to fall all the way to the volume area low or 660s. Okay, so we got to look out for those levels when we're doing this. Okay, dang it. All right, everybody. So what I decided to do is just make a chart so people could understand what the gains look like at specific levels. The reason why I'm doing this is because I think people play SoFi options and don't necessarily know when to get out of the play. Okay. They don't know when they've made enough. So one, you can look at the levels that I listed, right? Essentially the biggest low volume node, which I'm thinking might be one of the stronger resistances, is going to be the 868 to 897 range. Before that is going to be the 790 and the 807 range. So looking at those two, if they hit those positions, those are likely places that I would be looking to trim if we are not on an absolute rocket, that is. Okay, so the final target would be 910. I'm sorry, would be 897 to 910. And again, am I optimistic with SoFi, and do I think we're going to exceed that? Well, I don't necessarily think we will, but I do hope that we will, given what I know about the company and what I'm estimating or expecting from the earnings. But anyway, I gave you two contracts, and both of these can be played by the minnows, the dolphins, or the orcas. The orcas, just so you guys know, the more expensive contracts, we'd be looking at January 17, 2025, in which I do hold those positions. The plays I'm giving you right now are either plays I hold or plays I will be in. So I'm more of a higher risk guy. So I do have positions in the $8 strike August 16 expiration, and I've ran that up 145% several times from last week leading into, I want to say today. I think I hit 125%. So somewhat like that. But anyway, you have your options trade. So the August 16th expiration is a higher risk. Okay. Essentially is higher risk because you have less time, but it is safe enough to hold till the end of the week. So that would be August 2nd. You see the targets. I showed you the before date and the day of and the day after of expirations. So the before would be the 29th, July 29th. The of is the 30th, and then which pretty much is at open. Then after will be the 31st. Okay. So those are the price targets in which I think SoFi has to get past. And then those are also the corresponding percentage gains that you can potentially have. So that's August 16th, as you can see there. Take a screenshot or whatever. And then you have a further out contract, which is safer because it gives you more time. So let's say we got a $9 strike on October 18th, and that cost of that is $38. And again, you have the same targets, and you have the before, of, and after. Now, given that is October, I do see this chart in particular pretty modest. However, you'd never know with SoFi. With 18% short interest, and then of course the economy and this election, you just never know what's going to happen. But we are starting to see some strength out of the small cap stocks, and some of that money being transitioned from the blue chips to the small caps. So where a lot of stocks were red today, SoFi actually maintains strength for the most part, right? So that is what I have. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, if you want to talk about it in the chat, then please leave a comment. Tell me what you think is going to happen with SoFi. Let me know if you're an investor or if you're just a trader of the stock. Let's get into it. All right. This is Stocks for Real. I appreciate you guys for supporting me and watching my content. So without further ado, take care.